Hey, everybody, welcome to the Author's Porch podcast, where every great conversation begins. I'm your host, CJ Ives Lopez, and this is a place where we bring together authors, readers, and creatives from all walks of life to share stories, insights, and the love of books together. Whether you're an aspiring writer, a seasoned author, or simply a book enthusiast, this is your space. And hey, maybe you'll find your next favorite author here. Every week, we dive into the writing world, explore new ideas, discuss the challenges we face as creatives, celebrate the magic of storytelling, and occasionally, we're blessed with amazing author interviews. So grab your cup of coffee, settle in, and let's turn the page on a new chapter together. Welcome to the Author's Porch, where every story matters and every voice has a home. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Author's Porch podcast. We are season 4, episode 11, and we have Canadian author, our familiar friends up north, Patricia Bates, who is a historical romance author. Welcome, Patricia. How are you doing?
Thank you so very much. I am doing fabulous today. How are you?
I'm doing great, and it is great to see you, and I'm loving your plants back there, and I was reading in your bio that you love to grow stuff, so we are birds of a feather flocking together over here.
Yes, I do have. This is what's behind me is only about, it's not even a third of what I actually have. I actually have an entire shelf above my computer that has plants on it as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. You know, I think, now I may be wrong, and maybe I'll do a poll one day, that maybe romance authors like plants, because almost every romance author that I've talked to, we're big plant lovers, maybe because we just love to nurture.
I think so. Everyone that I've talked to has got plants. I've got one of my best friends. She's got a huge amount of plants and she writes romance. So I think it would be interesting to see what that poll would reveal.
Maybe it's because we have so much love inside of us. We just have to give it out to something, and we can't give it out to everybody, right?
Exactly.
And there's only so many books we can write, so we've got to have all these plants. Are you an animal lover as well?
I am. I currently have at least 2 fur babies at my feet. I've got a Great Pyrenees Lab cross. I've got a Shih Tzu, Jack Russell Terrier Shih Tzu cross, and then we have 3 babies, 3 Jack Russell Terrier Shih Tzu crosses. So they're running wild and rampant around the house at the moment.
Yes. Okay. I'm pretty sure this is a romance author trait for sure, of all the love that we just have to spread into the world. Oh my goodness. So do you have a book coming out right now, or just published?
It just come out.
Okay.
It's called The Celtic's Bride. It is set in the 9th century Ireland. So it is very much the Celtic romance. There is a few bits and pieces of the Vikings. I kind of do a little bit of a pull into Scotland during that time period, but it is definitely an Irish romance.
Is that what you, now listen, I will just tell you, I love my Irish romances. And when I spent my time in Ireland for just a couple of weeks, I was like, I want to stay forever. So you had me at Irish romance. But is that kind of where you stay when it comes to your historical romances? And why those? Like, what is your background in that type of arena?
So the Irish romances, my first book, which was launched in 2008, was an Irish Celtic and Viking romance. And I've always been drawn to the Celtic history, to the Celtic culture. There's just something about it that is so unique. So I do tend to stick towards more of the older time period, the early medieval, we'll say. Right now, I'm kind of going in between Ireland and Scotland, which is really weird and kind of unique because there is a lot of ties between the two countries when we go back and we take a look at their histories. but it, to me, there's just something about the mythology, something about the culture, the law, the ancient laws, that just really kind of drew me in. And I think Ireland is one of the most beautiful countries out there. I've never been. It's on my bucket list to go at one point
Mhm.
in my life. Um, but it is definitely one of those interesting countries that I really think that kind of gets overlooked a little bit, especially when I'm on the search for Irish romances.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just, this is kind of falls in line with the first book that I ever published, way back when. And so this was actually supposed to be the prequel to it, but then it took on a life of its own, and now it's definitely not the prequel. There is some tie-in to it, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, when you look at historical romances, a lot of them are British, English, right?
Hmm.
And Scottish.
Yeah.
And I've been to Scotland and it's gorgeous. So I've been to Ireland and Scotland and England. So they're absolutely just as beautiful as they are in the stories. And but you're right. You don't see Irish
No.
romances, or I haven't seen them out there. And I love historical romances. So bravo for bringing that out. When I was in Kuwait, I was stationed with the Irish. So there's a special place in my heart. I was there with the Irish Army, and there's just like this place in my heart because they are a phenomenal um, culture, right? Like I love me some Irish stew. So if you ever get a chance, write about some Irish stew in your books if you haven't already. I don't know, but um, when you're writing, what is your favorite part of the culture that you write about?
Um, well, honestly, I think within the Irish and even with the Scottish um, is kind of doing away with some of the misconceptions, because of with the belief that during that time period everything was very patriarchal, and yes, it was. The men had the power, but women had power too. It was just utilized in a different way. And
Mhm.
and so I try to kind of reinforce that by writing really strong female leads and really kind of bringing them into the forefront of being able to make decisions, whether it's for the clan or the tribe, or whether it's they have to stick up for their man. So it's really just kind of reinforcing that idea that we need to look beyond just what we have been learned in history books and say, oh, well, the men had all the power, the women didn't. Well, they may not have had an obvious source of power, but they still had power, and they could use it in such a way to get what they needed, what they wanted, to see success and to grow as leaders within their own communities as well.
Mhm. Yeah. And I do love the respect that the Scottish and the Irish have for their women and how
Yes.
they hold them at such high regard when
Hmm.
you look at their cultural background. And even in the modern day now, there is such a place for the women in their culture, and that it's a very refreshing place.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, I mean, if we look at it, we had one of the most famous pirates in the world was an Irish woman, right?
Mm,
She actually went to court with Elizabeth I and said, "Hey, you're doing my people wrong here. We need to kind of come up with some sort of Grace O'Malley. I believe her name was Grace O'Malley." And she's like, "No, we're equals. You may be the Queen of England, but I am the head of my clan, my tribe, and I am a queen in my own right. Yes, I'm a pirate, but still, we need to be able to communicate. We're on equal footing. It wasn't, I'm going to bow down to you because you're wearing a crown." Um, and I think too, a lot of people, maybe don't realize just how much power women had in their cultures. In Ireland and in the Celtic societies, women could be lawyers, they could be doctors, they could be druidesses, they could be that, they could divorce their husband if they thought that he wasn't treating them right.
wow.
So there was a balance of power there that I think is overlooked, and I think culturally, it's such a unique way to bring that into the forefront without pushing the guys into the background, because it's,
Yeah.
it's very much a give and take. They're very much both powerful people,
Yeah.
but you need to, she's not a doormat. She's not the woman that needs to be rescued. She's like, you know what, no, I can do my own rescuing,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I
And
think when you have those dueling powers that are equal, and when I say dueling, I don't mean dueling like fighting. I mean like that strength off of the strength type of
mhm,
thing. It makes for such. I mean, I get chills just when I'm thinking about it. Right? It's such a beautiful balance that you just. It's almost like you want to salivate. You want more. You're like, oh,
yeah,
give me more of this. These two, I just can't get enough of them. So
yep,
it brings such a beautiful element into the story. It's not about one or the other. It's like, oh, you bow down or you bow down. No, let's stand up together. And I
yep,
just love that. Yeah.
yep, yeah. And you have to, I think having that balance and having that, because um there's always that element of enemies to lovers. That's the other trope that I kind of weave into my stories. So it's
Yeah.
always that star-crossed lovers. Like,
Yeah.
these are two warring clans, and now all of a sudden these pair have been thrown together into
Mhm.
this marriage or this union and they have to kind of work out their differences.
I love it.
Um, and so that's part of the fun. That's part of the excitement of writing these, is that banter, that back and forth between them. It's like, hey, you know what, you might have been the leader of your clan, but this is what I want to do because I think this is going to make it better for everybody. And having that back and forth is, I think, it makes it fun to write as well as to read, I think.
Absolutely. So, so you published in 2008 your first book, but I'm sure you've been writing for a long time. When did you start writing?
I was writing poetry and short stories in grade school. By the
Okay.
time I hit junior high, I'd already written 2 full-length novels. Um, and then I graduated, and I kind of stepped away from it a little bit because of my life. And then just after my son was born, I decided, well, I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what I can do. And I had an idea about rewriting or writing a story about a Viking girl, which that was the general idea. That's not actually how the book came out, but and then I started. I was joining different forums and kind of trying to connect with other authors and really just kind of trying to find my way within the industry. And someone had said, hey, well, why don't you try my publisher? So I submitted, and um, I lucked out with my first book that I submitted. They took it, and it actually turned out to be one of the best sellers for that publishing house when it first came out. So
That's awesome. Congratulations.
thank you.
And to date, how many books have you published so far?
Um, well, I am currently on book number 42,
Jeez Louise.
but I actually write under 5 different pen names.
Wow.
I'm one of these that believe that we need to stay in our own lane. Experience has taught me that certain reader groups don't cross over to other genres.
Yep.
So for me to write what I want to write,
Mhm.
then I need to be able to focus on the genre in particular. Like, because I write paranormal romance, I write gay romance, I write contemporary romance, military romance, suspense romance, and then of course my historicals. So not everybody
Yep.
communicates with everybody else. So I kind of split it. So I have my own freeway,
Mhm.
and um, it just kind of gives me that freedom to be able to say, well, today I want to work on I want to work on a romantasy contemporary romance. I'm going to do that today. That's what I'm going to focus on, get my word count in on today. And then the next day it's like, well, I think I'm going to go back to, the first war of independence in Scotland and see how many words I can get from there.
Yep.
And so it really has allowed me to kind of juggle. I have written 42 books. I'm actually working on book number 42. I haven't published 42 books, but it's been very close. I've got a couple that are that I've written, and I actually use them as reader magnets rather than having released them
Yep.
as a book for sale, because
Yes.
I think that that's a great way for readers to really get a chance to grasp my writing style, my writing voice. And there's nothing there's nothing more exciting than a free book.
Yeah, I mean it's so smart, right? It's so smart because as indie authors, right, and even as traditionally published authors, a lot of people don't want to take a chance on you unless they know if you're going to be good or not. So those reader magnets, and what some authors don't realize that, because they're like, I don't want to give my stuff away for free. Well, that you have to let them know that you're worth their money, especially today in
Oh yeah.
2024 when everything is so expensive, no matter what economy you live on, right? You're in
Hmm.
Canada, but your economy is probably just as expensive as our economy, if not
Yep.
more. So yeah, those reader magnets are, and sometimes you have to write new ones, and you have to keep fresh, right? You have
Yep.
to. Yeah, so yeah, that is super, super smart. I totally feel you there.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to switch them out too, because sometimes and this is something that I've been kind of dabbling with a little bit with my historicals, because I've got a little bit more of that,
Mhm.
um, is actually doing it where I switch them out every year or every 2 years. I'm actually working on a new reader magnet for what we call cold subscribers in the industry. It's people who've never read my books. I'm actually working on a new one that is specifically for them, and then that will go out as a special gift to my current subscribers. But it'll also be given as the freebie for when people sign up for my newsletter for my historical pen name Patricia Bates. And it's the same with the other ones too. And what I think a lot of authors don't realize is it doesn't have to be a full length book. It can be it can be something shorter. You just have to be, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to be willing to or able to be telling that story from start to finish and
Yeah,
delivering on that expectation.
yeah. I tell authors one or two things. You can either write a 10,000 word short story, or you can do chapter one of any of your currently published books. Because the two things is the 10,000 word short story is going to let them feel from start to finish how you organize any of your books, right? It's going to
Yeah.
be the same, and it's going to be in the genre that you're already writing in. So they're going to be like, oh, that was good. I want to read something else. Or it could be a prequel, a 10,000 page, no, 10,000 word prequel to what a series that you're already in. Or it could be chapter one of a book that you have published, and they're like, oh, this is so good, I got to figure out, and then they're going to go buy the book. So there's
Yeah.
two. For me, that's some of the advice that I give authors, because it gives people an entry into you, your
Yeah.
voice, your tone, and stuff like that. Now, what I'm real curious, because I do this, I'm a multi-genre author as well with different pen names. Do you have one um, newsletter where you send out, or do you have multiple newsletters?
I actually have multiple newsletters. I have a newsletter for every pen name,
Wow.
um, which sounds like a lot of work, but I actually have a method to my madness. And what I do is I will set aside I'll block time out in my schedule, whether it's on a weekday, a weekend, or whatever. I'll block a couple of hours out, and I'll sit down and I'll go, okay, now I need to come up with newsletters for all of these pen names for the next 4 newsletters. So, I'm writing 10 newsletters instead of one. And so what I've been trying to do is, and Theresia is amazing for this. She's part of Anchor's Cone. She did a presentation this year all about the 4 pillars of newsletters. So and I was kind of trying to draw on that. And so what I do is I've created a schedule so that not every newsletter talks about my books. Sometimes it'll be talking about my crochet, or other times I'll have a specific insert into a newsletter from one of the, like from my dog, or one of the cats, or something like that when
Mhm.
we had cats. Other times maybe it's I'm giving out some recipes, or a recipe, and telling how I personalized it, or something like that, or whatever, or talking about another author's books.
Right.
And then I'll throw in, and then I'll balance that out with, okay, well, hey, I've got a book that's coming out. Here's the blurb. Here's everything. Here's the cover. Here's your buy link. If you go buy it directly, you save $1 compared to buying it anywhere else. So, And then I kind of schedule it out so that it's color coordinated. So, I might do something about the book and then something with the dog. And then I might do something I went to a market this past weekend and it was great. And this is what I took with me and this is how I did. So that readers really kind of get a chance to get to know me as a person, not just as buy my books. Because I think that gets overwhelming really, really fast when that's all that you're talking about in your newsletter. So I try to balance it out, and I will actually see if I can find my notes, and I'll share my notes with you on the 4 pillars of newsletters that Theresia from that presentation that she did. And I think, the other part of that too is that there's a big difference than having a sign up on the website and having a sign up at the back of the book. And that back of that book sign up for a newsletter is so important. And I think as authors, we really need to be using our newsletters a lot more than we have been as a means of marketing, because that's the only platform that we control 100%.
Agree with you. Oh my gosh, I'm a newsletter stomper. Like, I will tell everyone, your newsletter is the only audience that you own. I mean, I'm a big proponent. I'm a big shouter of social media because I love social media, but you don't own that. So you have to own your newsletter. But yeah, I will probably, after this show, I will probably pick your brain on separating newsletters, because I have everything on one newsletter for all of everyone knows that I do everything on one newsletter, my podcast, my blog, everything, all my genres. Everyone knows I'm like everything. So yeah, I would love to see how you can keep this from that. I think it's a very interesting dynamic. I have segmented, and I think that might be something very interesting for the blog that we might be able to write together to help others understand, if you haven't already done so, and then I can just link it for everybody in the show notes.
I haven't. I have not yet. It's actually it's one of those things that I've kind of been toying with, because by separating them, it has there was a learning curve attached to that, for sure, because there's a huge difference between writing a cowboy western contemporary romance and writing demons and angels and fae and vampires. There's a huge difference. So separating them was super important, and I think that what I've learned, I'm happy to share with you what I learned, because it was definitely one of those things where it was just like, I have to separate this, because it's too muddy, it's too muddled, it's too confusing, because you've got readers, even with I was doing segmentation, and even with that, I was finding things that were specifically for for male romance, like my gay romances was kind of bleeding over into my paranormal, and then it was kind of bleeding over into this, and then I would notice it, and then I would see a steep drop in subscribers, and it's like, well, what's going on? And then I would go back and I would be looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, right, different reader base,
Yeah, I'm getting a little of that with some steamy romances and some sweet romances and some stuff like that. So yeah, I think that might be something that we could probably take to the readers, and help them understand it a little bit better, because I've got some things that I do that are good, but a lot of things that I'm probably doing that could be better. So I think, yeah, I'll shoot you an email after the show, and we'll set up another time to do that. But I want to talk about your latest book, because you just published it. So tell us more about that storyline,
So it is a star-crossed lovers, enemies to lovers, historical romance set in, it's actually set in early 8th century Ireland, pre-Viking occupation. So the Vikings have arrived, but they're still on the shores of Ireland. They haven't made it inland. And there's 2 massive clans. So they've got a high king, and then they've got a lesser king, and the lesser king wants what the high king wants. And so what winds up happening is a member from each of the clan's families has vanished, and they're thinking that the other clan has kidnapped them for ransom or what have you, right? And so they go to war, which, it's that knee-jerk, you've stolen my daughter, no, you kidnapped my son. And so they go to war, and what winds up happening is the high king is killed in battle.
Mm.
And his eldest, or she's actually his youngest daughter, is kind of thrown into this position of, well, your brother is missing. We don't know what, we can't give you the throne. So we need to come up with a way to create a solid alliance with these other clans that are going to help us reinforce. And so there's an arrangement made between her mother and this other chieftain who is, or lesser king, who they arrange marriage. Now, the heroine is not overly excited about this marriage at all because her father was against it completely. This isn't the first time this guy's asked for her hand, but her mother says yes. We have to make sacrifices. So your sacrifice is you're going to marry this guy, and we're gonna unite and be saved. Things kind of take a twist, though. She doesn't actually wind up marrying him because on her way to his territory to be wed, she's ambushed. And she's actually rescued by the nephew of the minor king, who is their enemy, who firmly believes that her father stole his daughter.
Oh, wow.
So, yes. So now the nephew's got the princess of the main clan. He's got her in his clutches. She's not exactly in the best shape because she falls off of her horse and falls into the river, and she's pretty battered and pretty bruised up. But his idea is, well, we'll nurse her back to health, we'll get her healthy, and then she can tell us where my cousin is. She must know. We're going to do it this way, which is a little against what everybody else is thinking. They're like, well, no, she's a prisoner of war. We should treat her as such, lock her in a dungeon, and make her torture her and make her give us up this information. She's going into this going, I don't know what you're talking about. You kidnapped my brother. You have my brother. You must have killed him. We're not gonna do this. And ultimately, they wind up getting married because he's like, okay, well, I can't protect her as her captor. She holds the key to finding out what happened to my cousin. I can't protect her as my captive, so I'm going to marry her. So he forces her to marry him.
Oh my goodness.
So now these two are married, and of course they're still at odds because they firmly believe that the other party is responsible for the disappearance of these two kids.
Yeah.
The truth is a little bit different, though, and we find this out towards the end of the book. So his cousin and her brother had met clandestinely, and they had fallen in love, and they ran off, got married, and they ran off to Scotland.
Oh.
So back in Ireland, everybody's like, no, they're all pointing the finger, they're all throwing the blame out, they're all trying to figure out what's going on and making really, really false accusations and going to war over something that they don't really understand. And here's this young couple that have fled, and they're happily married, they're in love, but nobody knows because, again, they're blood enemies. So they're not going to tell their families, oh yeah, I met this girl, she's great, but she's the daughter of our enemy. So yeah, especially when both Una's brother and Jarlath's sister, both of their or cousin, they were both destined to marry other people, political alliances, right?
Yeah.
So now they've got this, and they're trying to find this out, and nobody knows this at all. Like, they're still going on based on. So now, not only does Jarlath have to protect his new wife, but now he is effectively the king of, like, he's taken on her dowry, her powers. He's kind of united the clans together, which creates a problem for this other guy that Una was originally supposed to marry. And he's like, no. I was promised this girl, and I through her, I get the throne. I want the throne. I'm going to get it. So he declares war on them. So now we've got all of these different players on the chessboard.
Yeah.
And they're all at war, but Jarlath and are kind of learning how to, they're learning to live together, and they're learning how to communicate. And he's really kind of getting an idea of the kind of woman he married. She's not one to back down. Like there's an incident where a clan member, one of his clan members, is being very abusive to their child, and she's like right in there and just wailing on him, and he's just like, no, you're not going to do this, and she's casting him out of the clan, and she's like stepping up to the plate and being, being the queen and enforcing laws that are in place. And so they're trying to figure all of this out. They've also got someone within his clan, one of the women that serves him as a slave, who is madly infatuated with him. He doesn't see her as anything more than a child, however. So now she's angry and she's frustrated and she's taking it all out on Una, which creates further tensions because now Una's got to not only watch her back from the slave, but she's got to watch her back from the clanspeople, and she's trying to find her. Yeah. So it's very complex, but I think I break it up with a little bit of humor, a little bit of sass, a little bit of, some action. There's a couple of battle scenes in there, and then of course, there's a couple of spicy scenes in there as well. But it's slow built. It's a very slow build. It's not, I got married today, so therefore we have to do it and consummate the marriage. It's more of they're feeling out their relationship and trying to figure out where they both fit, because this is all being done amidst a war, right? Because you've got the clans are all at war, and now they're trying to they're also aware of the threat the Vikings are bringing in, because even though they haven't reached that part of Ireland yet, they are still in Ireland. So there's that external threat as well. So they're trying to figure all of this out. And I like to write layers.
Yeah, it's very layered. No, it sounds extremely intriguing as well. And what's the name of it again?
His Celtic Bride.
His Celtic Bride. It sounds super interesting, and I love the layers because I find a lot of books sometimes not very layered. It's so one-dimensional. Like, the moment you start reading, everything that's going to happen throughout the book, and as you read it, it literally is everything. You just predicted. So when a book is layered, it's like a warm hug. You're like, yes.
I like to compare it to puff pastry. And you got the puff pastry kind of story in there, because you throw in the red herrings and the Easter eggs, and you give the little hints along the way, and whether it's maybe it's a piece of jewelry that you kind of bring to the reader's attention that kind of triggers something in the brain, and when it comes back around towards the end of the book or midway through the book or something like that. Yep. You want the reader to kind of dive into it and be pulled in. Like, one of the worst things that I find as a reader that I struggle with is books that are very one-dimensional, where it's you don't feel like you're in the setting. You feel like you're almost being told the story rather than participating in the story. And so I want my readers to really feel like they're participating. They're an actual character. They're standing there watching this husband and wife scream at each other because she just kicked out one of the warriors because he hit his kid, right? Yeah. Like, I want them to be standing there going, okay, do I need to duck? Do I run? How do I do this? So that's yeah.
Man, and everyone can find that on your site, patriciabates.com, right?
Yep. Everyone can find it.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Everyone can find it there. They can also find it at my, because I write with so many different pen names, I actually created a publishing house. So that publishing house has a bookstore, and that's sultryreads.com. You can actually go in there and you can buy all of my books. The nice thing is if you're buying from me direct, I am actually in the process of doing exclusive covers on my website. So my books on my website will have different covers than you will see on Kobo or Apple or Smashwords or Amazon or anywhere else. Those covers are very exclusive.
What was that website?
sultryreads.com.
sultryreads.com.
Yep.
Okay, I see it. Ooh, all right.
And it's I really enjoy that part, that aspect of it, of having that exclusive, because I want something that's a little bit different for the people that are coming directly to me. So not only do you save money, but you also get an exclusive cover.
Yeah, I think it's very enticing to people. They want something that you can't find anywhere else, and that's I've got books hanging up everywhere that are special edition you can't get anywhere else. And when I see one I can't get anywhere else, I'm going to buy that one because I can't. No one else can have it. Like I'm a book cover enthusiast. I just
I
can't.
love the book. I'm actually trying right now. I'm actually looking at finding a printer that can do posters because I want to take some of my my book covers and actually turn them into posters for my office.
Oh, well, I do know a website that does a lot of specialty work for authors. I've worked with her before. She's absolutely fantabulous. It's a whole company. So I'll shoot you that on an email and
Perfect.
send that to you. But I had a great time, Patricia. This is fantastic, and I can't wait to talk to you more about newsletters. Maybe that'll be a whole episode all of on its own because I think you have a lot to share with people. You work with authors, don't you?
I do. I do. I'm actually I am actually the organizer of a 12 book collab that we are doing. That is a contemporary romantasy series. A couple of the books have already launched. We're releasing a book a month for a year,
Wow.
and it's a book. The entire series is actually set around a small New England town called Briar Glen. And so it's in Briar Glen. The main focus of the town is the small bakery that's run by a coven. And so every book is different. There's different pairings. There's different different locations. Like for example, the book that I'm writing under Lena Metcalf, which is the pen name for my male mail. The one hero is a baker. He bakes. He has a specialty of bread,
Uh,
and the other character actually is a physical medium that runs the local cemetery and funeral home.
okay, I need to read all 12 of these books already. Like I mean, you say it's all around a bakery in a small town, and I'm like, anything a bakery in a small town, I'm in. And oh my gosh, yeah, I need to read these.
Yeah, there's I think the first 3 books are out. They're absolutely fantastic. I totally recommend them.
Where
And
can we find them?
you can find them. We are wide, so you can actually find them on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, Smashwords,
What's
and
the series name?
the series name is Hexes and O's.
Hexes and O's?
Mhm.
Okay.
And on Amazon, they've got Baking Between the Pages. Karmic Creme is out. There's another one there.
Mm,
There's another one there, and it's right on the tip of my tongue, and I can see the cover.
I'm looking at it right here. Yep.
Um, and so it's been really fun, and what I'm finding really exciting about it is that we are incorporating each other's characters a little bit in each of the books, and I'm finding that just the breadth and the styles and the voices of the different authors that are taking part is just absolutely amazing, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to grab that series. So it already sounds fantastic. Well, I will put the link to Hexes and O's in here, Sultry Reads, Patricia Bates, and any of the other links that you gave me. Um, as soon as we get the podcast out, everyone's going to be able to look at the show notes, grab a copy of your website links, grab a copy of the Hexes and O's as well so they can go and check that out. Is there anything else that we haven't mentioned that you want to get out there? I tend to talk sometimes and then I forget things because, middle-aged brain.
totally get it. I totally get it. I just check out the website, check out the bookstore. Like I say, it's sultryreads.com, and you actually do save quite a bit by buying there. I think it's $1 a book. For my ebooks, and even with the prints, they are a little bit cheaper. And yeah, if anyone wants to get a hold of me, they certainly can. I will be doing some very unique stuff here coming up in the next couple of months as well, because I'm relaunching the first book that I ever wrote, which was The Master's Mistress, which is now The Viking's Throne. I'm actually going to be relaunching that.
Mm.
And So I'm looking at doing a Viking themed and a Viking and Celtic themed party online, social media. So I will be looking at doing that. And yeah, just if anyone wants to reach out to me, feel free to. I am always around. It might take me a day or two to get back to you, but I definitely do.
Awesome. Well, it's been great talking to you. I know that we'll be in touch again. Keep us updated. You have our email address. Keep us updated, all the good things that you have going on. If we can shout you out, we definitely will. And we're
Awesome.
extremely excited about the stuff you have going on.
Thank
So
you so
guys,
much.
we've come to the end of the Author's Porch this episode, but we're going to be back. So make sure that you like and subscribe. Go check all the show notes to get all of Patricia's links. And we'll catch you guys next time here on the Author's Porch. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.
Okay, we've come to the end of this episode, but we're not done. If you enjoyed that, you'll enjoy all the other things we do at the Author's Porch. Check out the magazine, blog, and all the other stuff we do at our website, theauthorsporch.com. Also, follow us on social media at The Author's Porch. That's all one word. Find your new favorite author and your new favorite book, all here with us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on The Author's Porch, where every great conversation happens.